This is the state of where my server is in. I don't want to go too far into the flaw. It's been rebuilt multiple times. It has a couple different Ryzens. It's got a 5960 in it. It just kind of sucks for so many reasons. Let's not even look at that FX graphics card right there. Let's not get into that. Let's not get into the cooling. Let's not get into all the problems. Let's just rip out all the hard drives and actually rebuild this son of a beach. My name is Jason with Byte My Bits, and I'm about to rebuild Loki. And I thought about going full sin, getting out the big cameras, you know, microphones, everything, and doing this the right way. The problem is that takes way too much time. I don't have the patience for that, and I want to give you a quick and dirty rundown of the upgrade of Loki. I'm going from a 5960X to a 12900K on a Z690 platform. Literally, the first thing I have to do is just take out all the drives, set them right here on the carpet in sequence. That way, when I'm done, I can put them all back in the same slots, because I've got everything arranged in Unraid and I want to make sure that they stay in the same spot. Before I shut this down for the last time, here we got an ASRock X99, right? This is a workstation board extended. So the new one is not extended. It's going to be a little bit smaller, which is good because I'm going to be doing some water cooling stuff here. I hope this works. 61 degrees. That's because I have such a shitty cooler in there. 5960X CPU. And as you can see, it's got 8 cores, 16 threads. And oh, actually, okay, it has 64 gigs of RAM. So the new one should have 64 gigs of RAM. Yeah, see, I've changed this so long, or so many times. It's just, it is what it is. So here we are. Here's the stuff that I have running. Here's the nice badass hard drive layout that I got going on right now. And I'm not doing anything to the hard drives, so right now the hard drives are cool. So that's fine. I stopped doing everything. Now it's time to upgrade and make this thing great again. Great grit, make this son of a... Also, all the hard drives are red according to the user manual. That's bad. So something's really screwed up inside. I'm just ignoring that. I'm just gonna, you know, roll with it and hope that, you know, maybe they're not red when I'm done. Wish me luck. Here's what's really sad. Since I had Plex SSD upgrades and stuff like that, I got an NVMe thing, and I didn't even install it in that. I don't even know if that has it. But I was running that off of a USB 3.0 adapter to USB-C just to run my Plex SSD data. Like, that is how neglected my server has been. Since my server sucks, oh, it looks so peaceful. No drives, no nothing. Definitely needs some cleaning. I'm gonna have to give this thing one heck of a blowjob. And I'm really kind of worried about that fan spacing for what I have planned, and that's loose. Of course it's loose. Let's try to do this better. Jesus. All of its glory ripped out. Let's go over some of the parts. This is the i9-12900K. This is a 64 gig kick, so that's 232s running a 5200. I have a WD Black. I've actually been experimenting with some different versions. So I have like Sabrent. I got my longtime favorite Samsungs, and now I have a WD Black, all 2 terabytes. This is a 1 terabyte WD Black. So both of these are going to go on the server. All of that's going to be ripped out, of course. These are the... Here's the thing. I got 3 of these, and I can't find the third one. I was doing stuff, and I don't remember what I was doing with it, so I have to like hunt. But I'm using basically these two fans, right? These are going to be replacing the main fans here, and I hopefully, if I can fit, let's see, will it fit? Maybe. So hopefully if it can fit, that's going to bring in more air to allow me to, in this little cluster F of a wire situation right here, I'll be able to squeeze in that radiator. So I don't know if that's going to work. I'm really hoping it does, but if it does, I'm going to need more airflow, and that's kind of why I was hesitant, because I don't know how well it's going to work. But anyways, that's the way I got to keep this cool, because I don't want this anymore. It's just not good enough, especially for a 12900K. Found it. Don't ask. It was stupid. If you blow a lot of things out a lot, this thing is by far the best thing in the freaking world. Woo! Yeah. Oh gosh. Holy crap. Woo. Damn. Dude. Did a little test fit, right? Here's the old fans. They actually have their own little mounting thing that's supposed to slide in there and just kind of lock into place, but these things are so thick, they barely fit in there. In fact, they don't really fit in there. I'm gonna have to like secure them down. However, if I'm gonna attach the radiator on the other side, I'm gonna have to drill. On this like cluster F of cables, everything that comes up, because this is a shield for the power supplies, and this is the default power supply because it has 4 of them. Oh, this is the radiator, and let's do a little. I mean, technically speaking, look at that. Like technically, it's really what it comes down to is that I need to find a way to route everything, all this stuff that's going on, right? I need it to come up through this plate. I need to like drill holes or something, right? I need to come up through the plate, and then, because this, look at this. This is just not going to work. It doesn't push down enough. It doesn't work. So there we go. There you have it. Just in case you were wondering, this is the brains of the 4 power supply. That combines everything, whatever, does what it needs to load balance. You can take one out, put one in, pops off some alarms, but definitely got all the ugly cables coming out of it. But this is it right here, and I still have to take this off because that's where all the cables go. But as you can see, they're kind of straight and then bent. So technically speaking, I think I could drill some holes in there and I can make this work. With this whole thing, just because it's server, it's built the way it wasn't really meant to run GPU, stuff like that anyway. I've always ran into issues with just not enough connectors. It's just been a thing. But now I'm looking at these boards, right? So we got like 5-volt rails, got all these negatives, some unused things in here. I don't even know what those are. Those are 3-volt, I think. So anyways, I got all these extra unused rails, and then if you look underneath it, right? Like they can just be connected. Like look at that. Like look at that cluster F right there. So all they do, they just solder them together. So technically, if I wanted to add more, let's say graphics card, connectors or SATA connectors, or maybe even some Molex connectors, I don't know, whatever I wanted to add, something tells me I could just solder them in. And I'm really starting to wonder how stupid of an idea that is, but also I kind of want to try. But that's a risk. I don't know. So in order to use a graphics card, I had to use this PCIe motherboard, whatever connector, right? And that split it into something that I could use for a graphics card. So that's how that was. It's the same cables, same powers, it's just split, right? Different connectors. This is a mess. How ballsy am I feeling right now, and how long do I want my server to be down? Also, those wires are long as shit, and I think that I could shorten some of them up. I've never done something like this. It's kind of new. I'm doing it. Here we go. Got my makeshift exhaust fan to blow solder, flux, whatever out of the way. Got my little light that I made. Don't even know, that's stupid. But anyways, got everything I need, and got my beer, got all the solders and stuffs, and I'm gonna start basically one thing at a time. So the first idea is just essentially go with all the negatives, right? Get all the solder off the negatives, get all the negatives out, and then just, you know, kind of wire what I need at the links I need it, and then make sure I have everything that I need, right? That way I'm just kind of sort of keeping things organized. That's the plan. Since I'm full sending it, basically I cut everything. So black, yellow, red. I have these like special colors for like, you know, power on status, stuff like that. But I mark those just so I know I hook them up correctly when I'm done. But essentially, if you like, let's say you try to get too much solder and you got so many wires coming off of it, you got too much heat dissipation. It's really hard to get enough heat to actually get everything desoldered, which is what I'm going for. So you just chop it all off. This took hours. Look at, I mean, I have every single thing that was in there cleared out, got the holes cleared out, desoldered, little desoldering tool, another. I mean, this took so stupid long to do. Absolutely ridiculous. But got all those cables. Now I can take a look at them and see what other cables I need to make, how long I can shorten them, or how short I can make them, and then yeah, it's 5 a.m. actually. I might just go to bed. I don't know if this is gonna work. I hope it does. I think I got most of it. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, don't judge me. Anyways, I think I got most of it wired up. It's kind of a cluster F going on right here, but I think I got most of it wired up. I definitely have wires all over that I cut that shortened everything up. So ultimately, it should be a lot shorter. Plus, this is the main ATX cable. I did organize it a little bit, but now it's off to the side rather than coming out. So I think that's going to add a lot more space, hopefully. And now the biggest thing is to just kind of plug it in, kind of, to get it hooked up, kind of, just to see, like hook up a few things, just to see if something catches on fire. I really have to do just a basic test. So, you know, one power supply, just kind of get this in. It's not even like nothing else hooked up, no Unraid, no nothing. I just want to see if it posts with, where'd it go? With that thing. I really don't want to test like the 3 series or really any good hardware. This is an X99 5960X and an RTX 4000. So yeah, I don't want to like fry them, but I just want to play it safe. And at least this allows me to see if, you know, what I did works. If you can't tell, I'm nervous. Yeah, and I make out with my dog. Oh gosh, I hate the alarm. I can't do anything about the alarm. I didn't hook up any of the alarm buttons. What do we got? Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh gosh. How do I disable this stupid alarm? Holy crap, that alarm. I literally desoldered that stupid speaker. I have never once cared about that alarm, worried about the alarm, except for when it was going off. I've always disabled it. So, you know what? Screw you. But I got one of the back planes powered up. Basically what I've been doing is just plug in like the SATA cables that I installed. These are different, so I've been trying that. Power cables, trying that. Everything's working so far. Data connections, everything's good. I've been trying all the different motherboard PCIe connectors. So I'm on the last one, I think, right now. So all I'm going to do right now is try the second one as far as plugging everything in at the same time. And then I'm going to mess around a little bit with fans. So these are 2 amp fans. That motherboard over there can only handle 1 amp fans. So that's going to be a whole thing. Also, I have to drill a bunch of stuff and kind of modify that. But I just want to make sure the fans work before I go to full send into that. Time to start building. Had to do a little bit of drilling just to basically stabilize the fans. Like not necessarily hold them on in there. I can put screws right here to hold this together, and then that gets held into the case. So not that big of a deal. But I definitely needed to hold the fans in place. And just because I'm not using the normal mounting brackets, these little pieces of plastics right there. So since I'm not using that, needed to make sure that they were held in place with those. So I just did a test fit. Everything seems to go good. Also, I laid the radiator on top of this, and long story short, based off what I found, it's going to be sitting right here. So it's good that I got these fans. They're going to push more air because there's going to be some cutoff space. There's going to be some dead air, whatever, but it's going to be good to be able to move more air. So now I just got to figure out, like, you know, what or how to get the holes drilled in order to mount that radiator on 4 corners rather than just 2 on these. So nuts will fit on that hole, probably that hole, maybe not. That hole, and then that hole will definitely not fit. So I'm either going to Dremel it up a little bit on both sides, or I'm going to do something else. I don't know, but that radiator is in there. It's fit. It's drilled and held in on the other side. Let's see if you can see it right there. So it's actually held in 3 corners, and it's sturdy as heck, so I don't really see a reason to fight with a 4th one. But yeah, that's giving me a better idea of the space I'm going to have to work with. And so far, it's looking pretty nice. This is obviously, I mean, it's just held together with tape. I'm just fitting it right now. The previous wiring thing, so you have this that plugs in there, and you got these 2 wires that plug in right there, and you have the same thing on the other side. Previously, they were just really long, and they would just wrap around, and they were zip tied together to try to take up less space, whatever. So because I know where they were coming from and where they're going, they do have a little bit of slack on them, but I made it to where it doesn't have that much slack. So I can plug them in, slide this in, and I have less just wires just bundled up in here. Of course, that's going to be the exception because I added more Molex connectors plus that, and then I added some SATA connectors, or not SATA connectors. These are actually, this is a graphics card, which I did not have a graphics card connector whatsoever. I used to have to use a splitter that would go off of the other power connectors, and it was a big pain in the butt. So, and then I added a second CPU, the one that splits into 2 4s, because the new motherboard sitting down there, because it actually takes 1 8-pin and it takes a 4-pin. If you want to overclock, really, you don't need them both, but I do. So basically I had to add that one on there as well. Then I got some SATA connectors. So that's all fresh and clean. And then a lot of this, these actually, you can see how long these things are. These actually are still the same. All I did was resolder them back on. I didn't really alter them anymore. And I think I might have done the same thing for this one. Yeah, so a few of them I did leave the same and just resolder them back on. But for the most part, I trimmed a lot. And then I added more stuff. So now my server can handle relevant technology. And it can power it all. And I have a deeper understanding on how the whole multi-power supply thing works, which is kind of cool. Kind of simple, but also kind of cool. Oh, it's just looking so much better right now. Like, this is the ATX cable. It was so disgusting before. It's a little stiff, right? It's a little... It's... Oh, I'm immature as hell. It's a little stiff, but you know what? It's now black. And I think it's long enough to be able to reach the motherboard. So that's pretty cool. I'll have to make sure that it bends and probably make sure it doesn't put too much pressure on that. But there's so much solder and everything, and then it should be okay. But check it out. Before, all the wires, like I said, were just a big cluster of wires. It made no sense. They were all tangled with each other. Just a ginormous pain in the butt. But now that I kind of have everything sorted out, where I can move things around, like for example, this one right here, move this over here, right? So now I can wrap it with my own tubing, right? Put some zip ties on it and make this clean, right? Then I can do the same thing with this one. So then we have less mustard flavored cables and more stiff black ATX cables. I could, if I really wanted to, just de-pin these things. I mean, I have all the de-pinning stuff somewhere over here. I could de-pin this, slide over a little heat shrink and make it look cleaner and it won't fray up. But I'm not. Like, for me, having my server down causes major anxiety. Like, I'm just like, Oh my God, it needs to be. I don't know why. It is a weird obsession that I have a problem with. And I see, look at that. Hopefully this all works out cable management wise, but wrapped everything, looks a little bit cleaner, not so mustery and all that. So it's been nice, got all these like little things. So now I'm gonna put in this and figure out like how to get all the wires around it and all that, and hopefully everything works out. Just kind of hoping for the best at this point. Ooh, girl, look at that. It's a tight fit, right? You got that little fill thing right there. Did not even think about that. I almost had to like pull this out and maybe trim that down a little bit, but you know, a little bit of pressure, no big deal. I was able to get everything pushed in, got one screw on each side, holding that in place. And look at that. Look how much cleaner that looks. Like, oh, so much better. So these are the fans, or the cables for the fans. Of course, I'm just like tying stuff up, trying to keep everything out of the way. I also have this. This is for the pump that's surprisingly enough built into the radiator, to the rad. And then I have my Molex and my SATAs that I ran underneath and everything. So they're coming over here. So those will pull, you know, up over here, which is where they're going to be needed the most. So that's out of the way. And ATX cable, more than enough room to fit over there. That is probably good. These are going to go to the CPU power, which that's going to be interesting, but I think that's going to work. So I think, oh yeah, this is for the data connections. I think I'm freaking, holy crap. I just made this thing so much better. Totally worth the effort. And here we go. Everything was going real smooth, feeling pretty confident. Look at that. It will not go in, and this is not a shove it in type of deal. So again, that fill port right there, if you can see that, let me zoom in right there. So that is just straight up blocking it. So in order to get this in, I will have to figure that out. Also, I might just have to mark off a few different things here just to let this slide in. Looks like I'm gonna have to break out the Dremel, which I'm okay with. I don't want to, but in order to get this to fit, it's got to do it. Cut both of them. I sanded it, that way smooth edges, and I'm about to take a magic marker and make it black because I'm fancy. Not the greatest, but should fit. Well, it fits, but I realized I did something which, okay, so this thing, hi, there's these little side brackets that go on the housing for the things, right? And if you look, you see it's pushing off, right? It's got a little gap that shouldn't be there. And then it's not lining up correctly. So that goes on that side. And that goes on that side, which means I gotta take that back out. That's not really screwed in, but I gotta just pull all that apart and swap out the sides. This was a stupid idea. Yeah, I agree. You're so cute though. You're so cute. Just like any good annoying project, you always have to have just one little issue after another. So I don't know if it's because I messed it up the first time, put everything upside down. I don't know why, but this thing will not come out. So I now have to drill that out. Now it's fixed. Can't believe I made that stupid mistake. I, of course, had to take all that out in order to get to it, but I mean, that was like an hour. I'm not even gonna lie. Not an hour, like 36 minutes, whatever. Somewhere between 10 minutes and 5 hours. This is a motherboard you might recognize. I use this in an Unraid testing for the 13900K, and this is a Z690 board. So the Z790 board was not available when I went to go do my test, and I essentially purchased this from my main computer. So now, actually, yeah. So now, what I'm gonna do, since I ordered that is a 12900K. I'm actually going to run a 12900K in this, and I just took off this little flattener piece. If you guys are not familiar with this, the flattener piece, for some reason, I don't know the whole story, you'll have to look it up. Gamers Nexus did a thing, and a bunch of people did a thing, but this allows everything to sit flat and give you better cooling. So got to take this off, replace this chip, put the 12900 in there, and then I'm gonna take this 1300, and this this box that it's sitting on is actually the Z90 version, Z790 version, that will house the 1300 that will eventually become my main computer. So gotta take all the brackets off, gotta do all the stuff just to make it ready for water cooling, but first is I have to get this swapped out. There you go. That is a 13900K. Look at that. You have to forgive me for doing this little unboxing on my lap, but you have to, like, this whole project is taking up all the space. But look at this. So this is gold. I like this. The 13900 is silver. I kind of like the gold a little bit more. But one thing I do like about these 12 and 13 gen is the casing. Like, look at that. That's fancy. Like, I want to, like, frame this. Like, that's cool. I was actually originally planning on taking out 32 gigs of RAM because this is 128 again. I was going to use it for my, but I bought the same exact kit, 64 gig. I was basically going to take that out and then use those and put it on my main computer. However, I don't know about you guys, but just sitting here thinking I'm only going to have 64 gigs of RAM in an Unraid server that I'm also potentially thinking about using as a virtual machine host for my Blue Iris. And I'm going to hook in my 3080 that I have sitting on the ground right there. So because I plan on doing more with it than just Plex and some other stuff that I've been doing, I just got to go with the 128. And I'll just have to get another kit. That way when I build my main, I won't have 64. Because that's actually illegal. I don't know if you know that, but it's been passed. If you build a new system, you have to have 128 gigs of RAM, or you will be arrested, and you will be tarred and feathered, and you'll be thrown into the pit of forever damnation. Bear in mind, this is a rough in type of deal, so I got everything connected again. So there's a power thing. Got it anyway. So this is the fan adapter. These 3 fans take 24 watts or 2 amps each, and the motherboard itself can only handle 1 amp per chassis fan. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to run all of these fans off of the CPU header, which I may or may not change up later in the future. I don't really know. I think that if I hook this, for example, up to hard drives or whatever it is I do, it's just a matter of switching it over. It's probably going to be more than enough air to keep the CPU cool. But for now, at least what I'm doing right now, that's the way it's going to handle. So I have this little hookup thing going through there, which is powered through a Molex connector. Got all that hooked up right there. Let's see, I got all of the power hooked up over there. Got the ATX plus that extra little pin right there. And I do not have a graphics card installed right now, but I do have my HBA or my backplane, whatever the words. So I got everything connected. First start. Now I'm just kind of curious to see if this thing is going to work. Where'd it go? There you go. I only have one power supply put in, but Okay, I forgot that I reset the BIOS on this, so it does not automatically start as soon as it gets power. So I actually have to press the power button. Holy shit. That is loud as hell. I may have overdid it on the fans a little bit. Look at that. Look at that. CPU fan. 4,559 RPMs. Yeah, sounds like it. In the complete interest of fast forwarding this entire thing because it's taking so long, it's late, it's past my bedtime, got to go to work tomorrow. I put this back into the rack, right? So I'm holding this up with that just because I got to load the first row of drives, and the first row of drives will make this thing tip over. Once I hit the first row, I can slide it in, not a big deal. Got to reload all those drives. I think I have everything configured. I have a new 2 terabyte and a 1 terabyte NVMe. The 1 terabyte NVMe was actually the one on the USB-C, so that has the Plex SSD. And the new 2 terabyte, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna use that for, but that's a WD Black. Anyways, I have all of that loaded in, and now I'm going to start loading all the drives. And I'm gonna power it on, set up, Unraid, all that other good stuff. And I'm just kind of gonna hope for the best. Like, that's basically what I have right now. I'm gonna start loading hard drives. I'm gonna hope for the best. Cable management is not done. There's a list of things that I want to do still, and I'm afraid that I'm not going to get to it because if it's working, I don't want to mess with it. But for right now, load hard drives, get Unraid and Plex running, drink beer, and go to bed. So far, so good. I went into the GUI mode, got everything installed, got all the plugins, and got all the power supplies installed, got the flash drive installed. I think everything is good. It's booting up, so yeah. It's past my bedtime, so I'm realistically just gonna let this boot, let it do its thing, go in and make sure Unraid is just kind of up and running, maybe do a small amount of configuration, and then pick this video up later. Look at this. Let's see. The array started automatically. It booted pretty damn quick. My secondary pool is already there. Where's my cache drive? Up here. Cache drive. 8 terabyte. Yeah. Holy crap. It just worked. I even have these are my 2 NVMe drives. Wait, where's my Plex SSD? Okay, Plex SSD needs to mount. Gotta mount that. I gotta set that to auto mount. Let's go ahead and share it, and done. There we go. Yeah.